Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha with News Tonight, where we get you all the latest news and updates from across India and the world. The Home Ministry late on Friday night revised its guidelines on lockdown measures to allow opening of shops selling non-essential items. According to the latest notification, all markets in rural and semi-rural areas are allowed to open. Sale of non-essential items in all kinds of shops in a rural area is permitted. In urban areas, all standalone shops, neighborhood shops, and also shops in residential complexes are allowed to open. The guidelines allow the shops to function with only 50% staff, wearing masks, and also maintaining social distancing. However, these exemptions are not applicable to shops in malls and market complexes in both rural and urban areas. While the order allows shops under municipalities and with valid registrations to open for business, no activity is permitted in areas declared containment zones by states. The government has once again clarified that e-commerce companies are allowed to sell only essential goods. Sale of liquor and tobacco continues to be prohibited. Cinema halls, gymnasiums, sports complexes, entertainment parks and all religious places also have to remain shut.
हमारा ऑर्डर ये है कि कंटेनमेंट जोन्स में इस तरह की दुकानों को खोलने की अनुमति नहीं है. ये हर राज्य सरकार को निर्णय लेना है कि वो किस प्रकार कंटेनमेंट जोन के बाहर इन एक्टिविटीज़ को, इन गतिविधियों को रेगुलेट करे. बेसिक उद्देश्य ये है कि सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग का पालन हो, भीड़ इकट्ठी ना हो और जैसे कि हम कोविड-19 के संक्रमण को फैलने से रोक सकें. जो शॉप्स आइटम्स बेच रही हैं वो शॉप्स तो खुली रह सकती हैं, लेकिन अगर वो शॉप सर्विसेज प्रदान कर रही हैं जैसे हेयर कटिंग या ब्यूटी ट्रीटमेंट या स्पा वगैरह, उनको अभी खोलने की अनुमति नहीं है.
The Home Ministry has constituted 4 additional inter-ministerial central teams or IMCTs for 4 different cities: Surat, Ahmedabad, Hyderabad and Chennai. Each team will be headed by an additional secretary level officer. Earlier, 6 IMCTs were constituted to make on-the-spot assessments of the situation, issue necessary directions to state authorities for redressal, and to submit reports to the central government in larger interest of the general public. IMCT Mumbai has deliberated upon provision of medical facilities for non-COVID-19 patients. It has also suggested installation of portable toilets in Dharavi to augment the number of community toilets. IMCT Indore has reported that there are 171 containment zones in Indore, of which 20 are critical. Assam's Chief Secretary Kumar Sanjay Krishna announced on Saturday that there will be no relaxation in the ongoing lockdown. Krishna said that a decision on relaxation will be taken on April 27th. The Assam government has launched a new scheme, Dhanvantri, under which locally unavailable medicines will be provided to patients at home. State Health Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma said that medicines below 200 rupees will be provided free of cost to patients. Delhi Health Minister Satyendra Jain said the national capital will remain under total lockdown till April 30th. He added that the discussions regarding lockdown extension are underway, but it was certain that things will change only after the 30th of April. He also clarified that there are 92 COVID-19 hotspots in Delhi and that the entire city is not a hotspot.
दिल्ली में कुल 2514 केस अभी तक पॉजिटिव पाए गए हैं, जिसमें 138 केस 138 केसेस कल के भी जुड़े हुए हैं. इसमें से 857 लोग ठीक हो चुके हैं, रिकवर हो चुके हैं. 53 दिल्ली में टोटल डेथ हो चुकी है. 29 जो पेशेंट अभी भी आईसीयू के अंदर हैं और 9 लोगों को वेंटिलेटर के ऊपर हैं. तो दिल्ली के अंदर जो रेट ऑफ ग्रोथ है, जो प्रतिदिन जो बढ़ रहा है, उसको लगभग आप ये मान के चलिए 5-5.5% की गति से बढ़ रहा है. जो हॉटस्पॉट है वो 92 हॉटस्पॉट्स एरियाज हैं. पूरा दिल्ली या पूरा डिस्ट्रिक्ट नहीं है. वो हॉटस्पॉट तो उतना छोटा एरिया होता है जो होता है, उसमें पूरी दिल्ली या डिस्ट्रिक्ट नहीं आता.
With Maharashtra continuing to be the worst hit state with 6,817 positive cases, the state government has started distributing ration to saffron ration card holders, that is, for people above the poverty line for the months of May and June. About 4.5 lakh metric tons of these grains will be distributed in this period. Meanwhile, Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray held a telephonic discussion with his Rajasthan counterpart Ashok Gehlot on measures taken to contain the spread of the novel coronavirus by both states. The two chief ministers also discussed arrangements made for students from Maharashtra currently studying in Kota and agreed to work collectively on modalities to bring them back home. Just 2 days after becoming COVID-free, the Union Territory of Ladakh has registered 2 new positive cases. One case is from the Sangku containment area in Kargil and another in Bogdang of Nubra in Leh district. A total of 148 samples were tested, resulting in the 2 positives. Both cases are asymptomatic despite the positive test.
कल हमें कोविड-19 के लगभग 150 सैंपल्स के रिजल्ट्स मिले हैं, जिसमें से 2 सैंपल्स हमारे पॉजिटिव आए हैं। एक बोगदांग एरिया है जो नुब्रा लेह जिले में है और दूसरा जो है संकू जो ऑलरेडी हमारे कंटेनमेंट जोन में आता है कारगिल का, वहाँ के पॉजिटिव केसेस हमें मिले हैं। इनमें से जो एक हमारा केस है संकू का, उनका ईरान का ट्रैवल हिस्ट्री है। तो इमीडिएटली दोनों जगहों पर ऑफिसर्स ने जाकर दोनों पेशेंट्स को हम लोगों ने आइसोलेट किया है, उनके फैमिली मेंबर्स को आइसोलेट किया है। आज डीसी ले और सीएमओ ले बोगदंग गए थे और वहाँ भी उन्होंने जायजा लिया है कि वहाँ की व्यवस्था क्या है, और जो बोगदंग के पेशेंट है उनको हम लोग उनकी फैमिली मेंबर्स के साथ हम लोग ले ला रहे हैं।
Meanwhile, the Madhya Pradesh government has decided to bring back its labourers stranded in other states due to the lockdown. Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan discussed the matter in detail with the Chief Ministers of Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gujarat and Maharashtra. They have assured him their full cooperation. Around 110,000 labourers of Madhya Pradesh are stranded in other states. The Rohtang Pass on Manali-Leh route was opened for the public on Saturday. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh congratulated the Border Roads Organisation for opening the pass well in advance. The news of Rohtang Pass being opened for traffic 3 weeks in advance as compared to the previous year has brought relief to the local population. It will facilitate the centre and the state governments to bring much needed relief material and medical supplies for the local population. Also, the agricultural activities, which are the backbone of the district, can now recommence.
Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan on Saturday chaired the 13th meeting of the high-level group of ministers formed to assess the COVID-19 situation in the country.
The group of ministers held detailed deliberations on measures taken by the centre, states and the union territories. The GOM also reviewed the testing strategy and availability of testing kits across the country, while also discussing the various tasks assigned to different empowered committees. In a detailed presentation, the ministers were informed about details of dedicated COVID-19 hospitals, along with the adequacy of isolation beds or wards, PPEs, N95 masks, drugs, ventilators, oxygen cylinders, etc. Currently, more than 1 lakh PPEs and N95 masks are being manufactured every single day in the country. The number of public and private laboratories currently testing for COVID-19, along with the number of tests conducted per day. The death rate, which is around 3.1% in the country, recovery rate over 20%, which is better than most countries, and the doubling rate is 9.1 days as of now. 92,000 NGOs, self-help groups and civil society organizations providing food to migrant workers across various states and union territories, supported by SDRF funds. A national level metadata of COVID-19 warriors, including health workers, doctors, nurses, etc., has been prepared and shared with all the states, districts and other officials. The Health Minister commended the dedication and hard work of all the stakeholders and urged everyone to respect the frontline warriors and also ensure their safety. Union Ministers Hardeep Singh Puri, S. Jaishankar, Nityanand Rai, Mansukh Mandavia, Ashwini Kumar Chaubey were among those present during the meeting,
along with Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant and chairmen of other empowered groups on the issue.
Control rooms have been set up in Lok Sabha and 5 state assemblies for coordination between lawmakers and the public in the fight against COVID-19.
The control rooms are an initiative of Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, which he talked about during his video conference with presiding officers of state legislatures on April 21st. At the meeting, the COVID-19 crisis was discussed extensively. The Speaker emphasized that members of Parliament and MLAs and MLCs shall remain at the forefront in our national effort to contain the spread of the virus. He said the control rooms will allow people's representatives, including MPs, MLAs and MLCs, to discharge their duties in a more effective manner in fighting COVID-19. Om Birla suggested that the control rooms in assemblies should ensure better coordination between states in helping stranded migrant labourers and students. While the control room in Parliament House started functioning immediately, control rooms in Rajasthan, Haryana, Odisha, Delhi, Uttarakhand and Madhya Pradesh have also started working.
The Finance Commission estimates that India's growth recovery can only be gradual once the government eases lockdown measures that have been put in place to contain the spread of coronavirus infection.
The 15th Finance Commission held online meetings with its Advisory Council on 23rd and 24th of April to discuss various issues confronting the Commission. At the two-day meeting, Council members unanimously suggested that projections for growth made before March 2020 have to be re-looked entirely and revised downwards considerably. The Council members felt the impact of coronavirus pandemic as well as the nationwide lockdown will lead to the slowdown in domestic economic activity. They also stated that since the pandemic will significantly impact public finances, the government's fiscal response to the crisis should be much more nuanced. The Council members maintained that shortfall in tax and other revenues will be large due to subdued economic activity. The Council recommended several public expenditure support measures to the economy, including state-funded support mechanism for small-scale enterprises, partial loan guarantee to non-banking financial companies, and funding for states to undertake the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. The 15th Finance Commission, along with its Advisory Council, is keenly watching the evolving situation globally as well as domestically.
And for more details on that story, we are being joined by my colleague Kriti Mishra. Good evening, Kriti. Take us through the key issues, the major issues that were discussed over the course of 2 days during the meeting of the Finance Commission.
Well, Tina, these were the second round of meetings with the Advisory Council after the submission of the report of the Commission for the year 2020 and 21. And the members of the Advisory Council felt that the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and the nationwide lockdown that we saw on the Indian economy can come through the slowdown in the domestic activity, its impact on the cash flows of financial institutions and also business enterprises, and of course the loss of global demand for Indian products because of a steep global recession. All of them were unanimous to suggest that projections of real GDP growth made before March 2020 need to be relooked into entirely and revised downwards considerably. Once the lockdown of the economy is released, the recovery can only be expected to be gradual, depending on the ability of the workforce to get back to work, restoration of the entire supply chain and cash flows, and of course the demand for output. Therefore, the full magnitude of the economic impact of COVID-19 will only be clear only over a course of time. Back to you, Tina.
Also, Kriti, what were the recommendations that were made in terms of public expenditure support to the economy?
Well, there were several important considerations. Firstly, of course, the MSMEs and small-scale industries. A support mechanism to help them overcome this problem was advocated. Secondly, to avoid bankruptcies and deepening of NPAs in the financial sector, measures should be appropriately designed. Measures like partial loan guarantee may help. The Advisory Council also felt that Reserve Bank of India will have a key role in ensuring that financial institutions are well capitalized. Thirdly, the finances of the central and the state governments need to be watched very carefully. As of now, adequate provision for ways and means advances can largely help governments to manage cash flow mismatches. It is important to ensure that the state governments get access to adequate funds to undertake their fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. And lastly, and a very important point, the Council felt that it is likely that different states may come out of the severity of the impact of the pandemic in different stages. Hence, the revival of activity in different states will be at varied pace. Over to you, Tina.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Kriti, for joining us with those details and putting things into perspective for us and our viewers. And in some good news amid the pandemic, a 92-year-old woman in Pune has defeated coronavirus despite having suffered a stroke 7 months ago, which left her partially paralyzed.
Senior doctors of the private hospital where the woman was treated said, "This case shows that there is no need to panic if a senior citizen contracts coronavirus. With the woman getting better, it shows that the common assumption that the infection would be lethal for a person above 60 can also be discarded." The elderly woman, along with 4 members of her family, had tested positive for coronavirus. They were admitted to Symbiosis Hospital in Pune in the first week of April, and all of them have been discharged after full recovery.
The national lockdown due to the COVID-19 crisis has been especially difficult for daily wage workers. But it hasn't meant giving up on hope. A few of them set an example in Rajasthan's Sikar district by showing how.
54 migrant workers from different states had to be quarantined in a local government school that had been in a state of neglect for more than a decade. These workers decided to show their gratitude to the village that sheltered them during the crisis by giving the school a makeover, painting and cleaning the entire campus without charging any money during their stay.
तो बोले सरपंच साहब को कोई काम, सरपंच साहब ने स्कूल के अंदर हमारे को रंग रोगन ला दिया। हमारे लड़के जो है 5-4 अपना रंग रोगन स्कूल के अंदर कर रहे हैं जी। हमारी व्यवस्था बहुत अच्छी है।
Palsana Sarpanch Roop Singh Shekhawat said, "The entire village is humbled by the behavior of the workers who have now become role models for other centers as well. Their quarantine has ended and they're all healthy."
और समय पे इनको शुद्ध अल्पाहार और भोजन और फलाहार ये समय पे इनको दिया जाता है और इन सभी जो व्यवस्थाओं से प्रभावित होकर के जो ये श्रमिक बंधु हरियाणा, यूपी, एमपी, बिहार और राजस्थान के श्रमिक बंधु हैं, इन्होंने प्रभावित होकर कहा कि हम भी अब हमारा क्वारंटाइन का समय पूरा हो गया है तो हम विद्यालय कैंपस में सफाई करेंगे। तो इन्होंने कलर करने का ठाना कि हम यहाँ कलर करेंगे।
The government senior secondary school at Palsana became a temporary shelter for 54 migrant workers who could not return home after the sudden announcement of lockdown. The workers came from states like Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. 4 of them were from Rajasthan.
Meanwhile, the number of coronavirus cases worldwide surpassed 2.7 million on Saturday, while the death toll is inching closer to 2 lakh.
The United States remains the hardest hit country both in terms of confirmed infections and the number of cases. The number of COVID-19 deaths in the country crossed the 50,000 mark on Saturday after 3,176 people died in the last 24 hours. A total of 8,90,524 cases have been reported in America so far. Spain registered 367 new deaths from COVID-19 over the past 24 hours, bringing the country's death toll to 22,524, while the number of confirmed cases crossed the 2 lakh mark. Italy has also reported over 25,900 deaths so far. The total number of COVID-19 positive cases have gone up to nearly 1,93,000 in the country. The death toll due to coronavirus in the UK has reached 19,506 after 684 more deaths were reported on Friday. So far, 1,43,464 people have tested positive for COVID-19 in Britain. France on Friday registered 389 deaths, bringing the tally up to 22,245. The number of people infected by the disease has exceeded 1,55,000. South Korea reported 10 fresh cases of COVID-19 on Saturday. The overall confirmed cases have now reached 10,718 with 240 fatalities. Meanwhile, China has approved its third coronavirus vaccine for the second phase of clinical trials. Chinese Health Authority on Saturday said 12 new COVID-19 cases were reported in the country in the past day. The overall confirmed cases in China have reached 82,816, while 4,632 people have lost their lives so far.
The Rajya Sabha spends more than 40% of its functional time on deliberating upon issues of public importance. While over 27% of its time is spent on making laws, 32% of it goes in ensuring accountability of the executive. This is the conclusion of an analysis done by the Rajya Sabha Secretariat during a 41-year period since 1978. The trend was sought by Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu to determine how much time did the upper house spend on its legislative, oversight and deliberative functions.
Deliberative functions include issues of public importance under various instruments like discussion on the motion of thanks to the President's address, general discussion on budgets, short duration discussions, zero-hour and special mentions, and discussion on the working of ministries, among other things. Between 1978 and 2018, general discussion on budgets took up 7.08% of the total functional time of the Rajya Sabha. For motion of thanks, this was 4.36%. 3.93% time was spent discussing the functioning of various ministries. Zero-hour and special mentions took about 10% of the time of the House. The oversight function is addressed through questions asked by members. This accounted for 14.19% of the time, while calling attention notices took up 7.11%. Statements of ministers took up 6.33%, private members' resolutions 3.16%, and half-hour discussions 1.25% of the time. In this period, Rajya Sabha spent 27.57% of its functional time making laws. This included 24.05% time spent on consideration and passing of government bills and 3.52% on private members' bills. In all, the House spent 3,429 hours on consideration and passing of government bills and 489 hours on private members' bills. Time spent on government bills ranged from 10.87% of the total time in 2015 to 40.09% in 2002. It touched a record high of 45.9% in the historic 250th session of Rajya Sabha last year. The House passed a record 15 bills after spending 49.08 hours out of the total session time of 107.05 hours. In 12 out of the total 41 years, Rajya Sabha spent up to 20% time on making laws. In 21 years, it ranged from 21% to 30%, 31% to 35% 6 times, and 36% to 40% twice. During 1978 to 2018, Rajya Sabha held 3,022 sittings. It transacted business for 13,946 hours against the available time of 18,132 hours. This translates to 76.91% productivity of the House. 23.09% of the time was lost due to disruptions. Excluding disruptions, the upper house has transacted business for 340 hours per year. This equals nearly 57 sittings without disruptions per year. Disruptions have cost the House about 17 sittings every year. During 1978 to 2018, the actual functional time of Rajya Sabha, excluding disruptions, ranged from 139 hours to 580 hours per year. The House functioned for 139 to 200 hours in 5 years, 201 to 300 hours 14 times, 301 to 400 hours 7 times, 401 to 500 hours 9 years, and over 500 hours in 6 years. The upper house worked for above 500 hours per year during 1978 to 1988. Thereafter, there was an evident slide. Since 1995, the House could function for more than 300 hours per year only 6 times in 23 years. Since 2010, it has been below 300 hours per year. Chairman Naidu sought the exercise as an effort to bridge the information gap about the pattern of time utilization by the upper house. He also wanted a comparison of this trend with that of Lok Sabha and other leading parliaments of the world.
IAS officer Sanjay Kothari was on Saturday appointed as the Central Vigilance Commissioner.
President Ramnath Kovind administered him the oath of office at Rashtrapati Bhavan. He was working as secretary to the president. Sanjay Kothari is an officer from the 1978 batch of Haryana cadre. He was named as the new CVC by a high-powered committee headed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in February this year. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi were also present at the ceremony. All precautions, including social distancing and wearing of face masks, were taken during the ceremony in view of the coronavirus infection. The Central Vigilance Commission is the anti-corruption watchdog of the country with autonomous status. The post of CVC was vacant since June last year, and Vigilance Commissioner Sharad Kumar had held the interim charge since then.
Saturday was the first day of the holy month of Ramzan.
President Ramnath Kovind wished citizens on the occasion and appealed to them to defeat the novel coronavirus outbreak through firm resolve and discipline. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended his best wishes to people for the auspicious month of Ramzan and hoped that the festival will end with victory in the ongoing battle against COVID-19. Wishing everyone on Ramzan, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu also reiterated the importance of social distancing during the festival. He asked everyone to stay at home and pray. Ramzan is the holiest month for Muslims all around the world. It started with the sighting of crescent moon in many places, including in Saudi Arabia, UAE, Malaysia, Indonesia, Kuwait, and Qatar. For the first time, Ramzan will be celebrated amid global lockdowns and bans on mass gatherings, prayers, and community iftars. The World Health Organization has also called for halt of some Ramzan activities to limit exposure.
So that's it from us on News Tonight. Thank you for your time. Stay home, stay safe.